Hello, I'm Tom Cherryholmes, the system operator for IRATA.ONLINE, and I got a question from a user who asked me, what is the Notesfile sequencer and why do I want to use it? This is actually a very good question, and in addition to writing a little note about it, I decided to go ahead and put together a little video demonstrating visually how to use the Notesfile sequencer. What is it? Well, very simply, it's a part of the notes system which allows you to specify a stack of notes files that you want to check on a frequent basis, and it will literally cycle through them one at a time and show you any notes that have been made after a certain time. Usually this is since the last time you ran the Notesfile sequencer, in effect seeing all of the new notes that have shown up since you last ran the sequencer. Very handy, I think. So with that, I will show you how to set up the Notesfile sequencer using a test user here, and how to run through the Notesfile sequencer, as well as setting a few options which, in my opinion, make the Notesfile sequencer very nice to actually use. So we'll go ahead, go into pterm here, and we start at the Notesfile screen, and we'll see that there is an option down here, option F, to go into the Notesfile sequencer. We select it, and we get a small synopsis on the Notesfile sequencer and how to use it. Pretty self-explanatory for the most part, but we'll go ahead and go through creating the notes files themselves. And in actuality, before I do that, I want to take and point something out that's very important to understand. We'll go back. And you'll notice that with each particular notes file, you will see in parentheses and in quotes the name of the notes file. You can use this name either inside the Notesfile sequencer or with the Go option to literally jump directly to that notes file anywhere within the system. You can also use the names of these notes files in author mode to also, again, jump directly to that notes file. So let's go ahead and write down a few notes files that we know we need to use here. I'd like to take to track system announcements. Public notes would be nice. Possibly tutor notes. And just for completeness here, we'll go ahead and track Atari 8. Cool. All right, so go ahead and go back. Go back into notes there as I hit shift back. And select the Notesfile sequencer. Since this is the first time we've gone through the sequencer, it gives us the explanation, and it gives us the opportunity to create the sequencer. We can, at any given time, come back into this sequencer editor. And in fact, if we look at help here, we get a more in-depth explanation as to how to use the sequencer inside of here. We go back, and we start entering in the notes files that we want to keep track of. I want to keep track of announce. I want to keep track of tutor notes. And now that there's already one in here, it's asking me where do I want to place this particular notes file. If I don't enter anything here and just press next, it will place it at the bottom. After this point, okay, continue on. I'll take and go ahead and put Atari 8, sure, and I'll go ahead and put PB notes. And I actually want to take and put PB notes after announce, so I'll put that in list position number 2. So now PB notes is in list position number 2. So this gives us a sequencer of showing the announcements, showing any new public notes, any new tutor notes, and any new notes that are in the Atari 8 group. Once we're done here, we can actually either start to use the sequencer by pressing back, or we can go ahead and hit bypass options. For the first time through, I'm going to use the sequencer as it is before and not set any bypass options. Then we'll come back in here and I'll show you what happens when we do set those bypass options. Let's go ahead and hit back for sequencer. And it shows us right now the start of the sequencer. You can hit plus or minus to start at a different point in the sequencer. Or if you hit help, you can see what to do at this point. The most common key that you'll want to hit here is to hit data, to look inside this file to see if there's anything new. So what happens here, because I haven't set any bypass options, it goes directly into that notes file. And I can hit data again. Since nothing is shown up, it's giving me the opportunity to actually take and set a particular time I want to check against. I don't really want to, so I'll go back. I'll hit shift back and go back. Do it again. Go back. Shift in. Go back. Shift in. Go back. Now, this in and of itself is kind of weird and awkward in my opinion. So as part of the Notesfile sequencer, we can set bypass options. And if we actually go into Shift Lab, we can set bypass options. Bypass options are quite nice because now we can take and turn on entry bypass to skip the note title display on entry. We don't need to see it because we're using the sequencer to see if there are any new notes. There's no reason to go in. Sure. I also turn on exit bypass, which means to exit the sequencer display because I'm not wanting to skip through entries in the sequence. I want to literally go through each one of them and just come right back to the next notes file. I also turn on file bypass, which is very handy because it essentially means I don't need to press any keys when I'm inside the notes file until I get to a new note. Very handy. And we'll see the difference here once I take and send a note over here in public notes. We do this, we exit back out, and we'll run the sequencer again with all the bypass options on. And you'll see that it's automatically now flipping through and it's found a new note here in general chat. Now because of the way notes is structured, it's automatically showing you the base note just to give you an idea of the context of the conversation. So I'll go ahead and press the data key. And we come to the most recent note. We can of course hit plus and minus to go forward and back. Once we're done, you can hit data again to show the notes display and shift back, and it will continue back on through the cycle, going through the rest of your sequence. Once you're done, you can hit back to exit and come right back to the main notes display. So there it is. You have a nice quick video on how to use the Notesfile sequencer, and once you set it up, I'm sure that you will find it to be an extremely useful resource, especially as we start getting more and more notes files and things that we want to keep track of inside the system. Going forward, we will take and make more of these videos for various functions as users take and ask me questions. Until then, enjoy the use of the system. Thank you very much.